Shalom from Israel to all of Daystar viewers around the world. I am Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible, when David said in Psalm 43:3, "O send out your light and your truth. Let them lead us. Let them bring us to your holy hill and to your tabernacle." And God says in Zechariah 8:31, "I will return to Zion and dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain." Always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free. John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the Knesset forms the largest national unity government in Israel's history. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been able to save the Knesset from dissolution by forming a national unity government with opposition leader Shaul Mofaz. Last week, Netanyahu announced that the country would hold early elections on September 4th of this year. The Knesset House Committee approved a bill to dissolve the Knesset on Monday night, but just hours later, Netanyahu and the Kadima Party's leader, Shaul Mofaz, were able to strike a deal to keep the Knesset intact. Mofaz will now serve the state as vice prime minister, and the government is expected to remain intact until elections are held in October of 2013.
Turning to France, where François Hollande has defeated incumbent President Nicolas Sarkozy and been elected the new leader of the Republic. Hollande is a socialist, and many French Jews supported his opponent. The international Jewish community sees Hollande's election as a major setback for the call to take decisive action, including a potential preemptive strike against a nuclear-armed Iran. Tehran voiced its own support for Hollande early in his campaign, as well as after his electoral victory. A spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry expressed hopes of the Islamic Republic that the Hollande presidency will mark a new era of strengthened ties between France and Iran. Noting what he referred to as Sarkozy's hostility toward Iran, the diplomat added that Tehran is now hoping that the policies of François Hollande will correct wrong approaches taken in the past.
The Egyptian military has imposed a curfew in the country's capital, Cairo, after violent clashes left one dead and more than 400 wounded. Egypt has been ruled by military generals since former President Hosni Mubarak was toppled in February of last year. This is the second time in a week that protests have become violent over the transition from a military to a civilian government. 11 people were killed last week, and at least 18 journalists have been assaulted. Protesters said the Egyptian military is seeking to manipulate or delay the upcoming presidential election.
Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood held a rally at the Cairo soccer stadium last week ahead of Nakba Day commemorations, when the Arab world mourns the establishment of the State of Israel. The event was attended by top members of the powerful Brotherhood, which has recently emerged as one of the largest political parties in Egypt after winning more than 50% of the seats in parliament. Speakers focused on Jerusalem and their plans to retake the city through armed resistance. Safwat Hijazi, an Islamist who has been banned from the United Kingdom for blatantly calling on Muslims to murder Jews, said that the Arab capital will be Jerusalem and not Mecca or Medina, but that Jerusalem is the goal. After he issued a call to either pray in Jerusalem or die as martyrs on its threshold, the crowd became enraged and chanted that millions of martyrs will march on Jerusalem.
Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak and IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Benny Gantz have recommended that the homes of Hakim and Amjad Awad be demolished. Both men were convicted of the murders of 5 members of the Fogel family in Itamar last year. The Shin Bet, the Israeli security agency, originally recommended the demolition, and Israel's 2 highest security officers have agreed. The Knesset Legal Advisor's Office will consider their recommendation in the upcoming weeks. Israeli Army Radio quoted Yaakov Perry, former head of the Shin Bet, as saying, "This is one of the most brutal terror attacks ever, and the Shin Bet thinks that demolition is a punitive step that may deter other terrorists from carrying out such tragic crimes." The Shin Bet also noted that in addition to deterring other terrorists, relatives of the murderers helped them after the attack by hiding weapons and destroying evidence. Israeli Transportation Minister Yaakov Katz said, "This step is correct and necessary. Home demolition will deter terrorists from attacking Jews and make it clear to the families that aided the murderers that they will also pay a price." Neither assailant has expressed any remorse for the murders of Ruth, Udi, and their children, Yaakov, age 11, Elad, age 4, and Hadass, who was just 3 months old.
Israel was selected as the location for the site of the upcoming convention of the International Criminal Police Organization known as Interpol. More than 200 senior delegates from law enforcement agencies from over 40 European nations are to arrive in the country this week to attend the gathering. Israel's police are to host the 3-day convention in Tel Aviv. Israel also hosted the 28th International Mayors Conference last week. City chiefs from all over the world convened in Jerusalem to attend panels on security and defense. Participants toured the security facility for the Old City of Jerusalem and met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman.
The United States Air Force has begun to deploy F-22 stealth fighter jets to an Allied base in the United Arab Emirates. The F-22 Raptor is considered to be the most sophisticated fighter jet in the world, and the U.S. has now stationed an unspecified number of the warplanes at the Al-Dafira base, which sits just 200 miles from the Iranian border.
A top al-Qaeda leader has been killed during a CIA drone strike in Yemen. Fahd al-Qusso was on the FBI's most wanted list for his role in the bombing of the USS Cole that claimed the lives of 17 American sailors and injured 39 others. He and another al-Qaeda terrorist were hit by a missile as they exited a vehicle in southern Yemen. According to a senior U.S. intelligence official, the two were the subjects of an extended surveillance operation by the CIA and the U.S. military. The local government authorized the strike, which was a joint U.S.-Yemeni operation against al-Qaeda in the southern sector of the Arabian Peninsula nation.
U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is urging India to cut its oil imports from Iran. India is heavily dependent on the crude oil it buys from the hardline Islamic Republic, which is India's second-largest oil importer. Clinton encouraged New Delhi to boycott Iranian oil in order to pressure Tehran to come clean about its nuclear program. India could face sanctions from the United States if it does not make significant cuts in its oil imports from Iran. The American diplomat said, "We believe at this moment in time the principal threat is a nuclear-armed Iran. We need India to be part of the international effort." Several Palestinian terrorists and criminals who are serving prison sentences in Israeli jails have staged a hunger strike protesting their incarceration. The prisoners are demanding to be released despite committing crimes against Israelis and being found guilty in a court of law. According to the Deputy Minister of Palestinian Prisoner Affairs, the death of even one prisoner on a hunger strike would trigger violence in Judea and Samaria. He said the hunger strikers have called on Hamas's armed wing to kidnap Israeli soldiers in order to advance their release. Hadar Adan, a prisoner who has refused food for more than 2 months, said the hunger strike will be a success regardless of whether the prisoners' demands are met or if they die in prison. If they die, victory will be even greater. In any case, Israel will be held responsible.
The Olympic torch will be making a 2-day stop in the Jewish state en route to London, where it will remain for the duration of the 2012 Olympic Games. The torch was lighted in Greece last week before the iconic symbol of the Games began its journey, with more than 500 runners carrying the flame over 3,000 kilometers to the United Kingdom. And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on our beautiful rooftop studio in Jerusalem. Our guest today is David Bin, representative of the Efrat organization. David, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here.
David, what is the Efrat organization?
The Efrat organization aims to save the lives of children in Israel by providing financial and social support to pregnant women in distress.
The Efrat organization operates by offering women an opportunity not to have an abortion. It's not necessarily anti-abortion, it's pro-life. How do you make that distinction?
Right, we're saving lives by providing our support to pregnant women in distress. And what we believe is that outside financial pressures shouldn't make a woman feel that she has no choice. She should be empowered to have the baby. You know, Josh, it's very interesting. I get this question a lot. How come there are so many couples and women and so many abortions in Israel? There are close to 50,000 abortions in Israel. And I explained to them that there's a lot of people, a lot of couples who are going through financial difficulty. And people ask me, but wait a second, David, I hear that the economy here is so strong, the shekel is so strong, and also I hear that half of the children in Israel are living below the line of poverty. What's going on in Israel? How could there be, both success and real problems economically here at the same time? And I said, well, that's the answer. Unfortunately, in Israel, you have this disparity. You do have high tech, you do have big businesses, but you have a lot of people who are really struggling to make it. And that's where a frock comes in. When a couple is trying to decide whether or not to have their child, and they already have 1 or 2 children already, and we're talking about secular families, and it's coming at a difficult time. Sometimes there's marital stress involved. The women often think, hey, an abortion, that's an easy way out. But we tell them, Josh, we say, listen, it's up to you to decide whether or not you have to have an abortion. But women in your situation, the vast majority of them, after they do the procedure, after they have the abortion, later in life they regret it. Sometimes even when they want to get pregnant, they have problems getting pregnant. Sometimes they feel terrible from guilt. But on the other hand, all the women, and we've literally helped thousands of women have their babies, all the women that we've helped over the years are so glad that we helped them. So it's your choice, we tell them, but considering the backgrounds, we can tell you with certainty that if you go ahead and choose to have your baby, you won't regret it.
Absolutely. And what are some of the services that you supply for these women in the first year after they have their baby? How do you help them?
Right. A lot of groups want to know what is the secret of Efrat's success. Every year we're saving more than 2,000. A couple of years we've actually did more than 3,000 children. How did we do it? Well, the answer is we focused on the groups that were terminating their pregnancies due to financial concerns, and very practically and specifically we offer them 3 things. First of all, we tell them in general, don't worry about your financial situation. We're there to help. Every month, after the baby's born, they get a package of free diapers and formula, food for the family. It's delivered for free to their door. People who are visiting Jerusalem can come and see our warehouse. Besides the monthly packages, we cover all the costs of the baby. They get a free crib, they get a free stroller, they even get a baby kit that we bring to the home around the time the baby's born. And besides all of that stuff that we provide, we also, very importantly, we match each woman with one of our Efrat volunteers. We have over 3,000 volunteers from Metula to Eilat all over the country. We've been around since 1977, and that volunteer befriends the woman through her ordeal, through the pregnancy, helping her, providing support in many ways. And so it's through these monthly packages that they get, and there are big boxes of help that we bring every month for free, delivered for free, to the door. Besides that, we also match them with one of the volunteers, and all of the baby equipment. All of that together is the way that we save so many lives.
So how many lives have you saved since 1977?
Recently, we were honored at the U.S. Senate for saving the lives of our 25,000th child, and for Efrat's reaching its 30th year milestone. But currently the number has far exceeded that 25,000 mark. And as we spoke earlier, Josh, that's like, in Israel, it's a tiny country, that's like bringing another city to Israel.
It's absolutely remarkable. I've heard on other governments around the world, they are looking into trying to get this type of organization in their countries. How can this model work in countries around the world?
We all want to save lives, right? And a lot of these organizations that are focused on the same area that Efrat's focused, they spend a lot of time with money trying to change legislation. Often when the laws won't change, they spend time sometimes going on marches or protesting at clinics, abortion clinics. We don't do any of that. We simply find all of those women, and unfortunately in Israel there are many of them, who who really are being pressured financially, and we offer them and we embrace them and we give them total support. And you know what? Our social worker says when she engages them in conversation, she says, what is it that you really want? And most of these women that we're helping, that we reach, tell us that they really would like to have the baby, but they feel that their husband or boyfriend, someone is pressuring them, sometimes even her parents, now's not a good time, you're in between jobs or whatever. And really that's not the right thing to tell a woman who's in that situation.
Absolutely. David, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our audience?
Well, I think the most important message I have is the best way to save lives is to go out and to find women who need that financial assistance, totally embrace them also with the social support, as Efrat does with the volunteers. And you can also look at, if you want to learn more about the Efrat organization, you can go ahead at www.friendsofefrat.org. There is a movie that brings everything to life, a short video, and I think people could model other organizations after Efrat. And there are other organizations that do similar work, pregnancy care centers, but the thing that they've told me that's special and unique about Efrat is that they haven't seen an organization that provides literally so much support for each woman as Efrat does.
Thank you, David, for being on the show. Just like to say something to our #1 fan. She never misses an episode. My mother. Happy Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers around the world. Thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. Now back to the studio.
Up next, Shining Light from Israel.
What makes the miracles of Jesus even more miraculous? Standing where they happened, in Israel. Come visit Capernaum, where Jesus restored a paralytic's helpless legs. Sail the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus walked on the water. Stroll through the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus healed a servant's ear. To learn more about standing where it all happened, in Israel, visit www.goisrael.com. Come visit Israel.
I live here because this is my home.
ומאוד קשה לנו לחיות ככה.
The government built 3,500 shelters.
אחרי יום העבודה כשהגעתי הביתה, היה צבע אדום. זה היה תוך 2 שניות נפל קסאם 3-4 מטר מהבית שלי.
כשקסאם נופל זה קצת מפחיד, אם אתה נמצא במיוחד בחוץ, לא בתוך הבית, לא מקום מוגן.
Since the last operation that finished at 17th of January 2009, we have quiet days, but it's not quiet totally because the terror organization continue to shoot rockets on the town and the area, and it's average of 1 rocket a day.
This is the very spot that Afik Zahavi, who was 4 years old at the time, was murdered by just 1 rocket.
People still sleeping in the shelters because they are continue to be frightened from the rockets, because it's a fact that the rockets are killing and wounded, destroyed.
הנכד שלי ישן בחדר, על הבטן, תקרא דקה, כל הרעפים נפלו עליו, על הגב, זה המזל שלנו.
I think that it's the only town that all the people live in shelters.
Afik was 4 years old, going to nursery. He was the child of single-parent family, the only child. That tragedy never should have happened. Those rockets should not be coming into a city with civilians, but they are.
Try too hard and I always lag. Days are grey and the nights are black.
Stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem.
What makes the miracles of Jesus even more miraculous? Standing where they happened, in Israel. Come explore Jerusalem, where Jesus opened blind eyes. Visit the hills of Galilee, where Jesus fed the multitude. Stroll through Capernaum, where Jesus lived and taught and healed. To learn more about standing where it all happened in Israel, visit www.goisrael.com. Come visit Israel.
We are here outside the International Convention Center in Jerusalem. It is here where the International Christian Embassy presents every year the Feast of Tabernacles celebration. The Feast of Tabernacle has become a wonderful celebration of exciting worship and of the teaching of the Word of God here in the city of the great King. Every year, thousands of Christians come to Jerusalem to celebrate with us this exciting Feast of Tabernacles. It has become, over the last decades, Israel's largest tourist event. And it is the prophet Zechariah who speaks about a time when one day all the nations of the world will come to Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles here in the city in Zion.
And it shall come to pass that everyone who is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
What is most exciting for me every year at the Feast of Tabernacles is to see the nations literally from the ends of the world coming to Jerusalem to worship the God of Israel together in unity in a wonderful setting of dance, drama and worship expression in music. Here are just a few highlights from last year's Feast of Tabernacles.
welcome the Czech Republic.
Israel!
The Christian Embassy has branches in more than 70 nations.
השגרירות הנוצרית מפוזרת במעל 17 אומות.
And I would like to have our national directors from the ICJ to stand up that you can see them. These people which are standing
האנשים שעומדים כאן
are Israel's best friends today.
הם החברים הטובים ביותר של ישראל היום.
They work day and night to support Israel.
הם עובדים יומם וליל כדי לתמוך בישראל.
To defend Israel.
כדי להגן על ישראל.
And to make sure that Israel is not alone.
Shalom Aleichem. Come on, Hebenu Shalom Aleichem. Hebenu Shalom Aleichem. Hebenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us?
This year's Feast of Tabernacle will take place from the 30th of September to the 4th of October. And I personally would like to invite you to join us for this exciting conference in Jerusalem. Find out more on our website, and tour options are available through the offices of our national branches around the world. I believe this year's Feast of Tabernacles will be a life-changing experience for you and for your family. Therefore, please prayerfully consider to join us at the Feast of Tabernacle in this year here in Jerusalem. May the Lord bless you out of Zion.
Now available from our online web store, the 2011 Feast of Tabernacles Highlights DVD. This wonderful 90-minute video captures highlights from the worship and teaching of the 2011 Feast of Tabernacles. Visit www.icej.tv for more details.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner. Join us again next week for all your Israel updates.